All right, Algebra 2, let's get going. One of my favorite lessons is functions. And here's where we are. It's not too different than things that we've done, but the essential question today says, can you find values of functions and can you graph functions? Well, we know how to graph. Lesson 3.8, this is all about functions. A function is a correspondence between two sets, the domain and the range, that assigns to each member of the domain exactly one member of the range. Now, typically, our domain is X and our range is Y, but that doesn't always happen anymore, so let's see what they have in store for us. Here they tell us the set D is the domain, the set R is the range. Two words you should be familiar with. And notice that each domain corresponds with one range. So 2 goes to 4. So I could write that as 2, 4. 1 goes to 2, 1, 2. 0 goes to 0, -1 goes to -2, and 2 goes to 4. So let's see what they have for us on example 1. Given the range of and the graph, now they're telling us the graph doesn't have a y, so they call this f of x. This is a new thing for us in Algebra 2, but you're going to see it the rest of your math career. So f of x, which is kind of like the y, is equal to -1/2 x plus 2. So just like we've done in the past, instead of putting in x, I'm going to substitute and put the number. Well, 1/2 times 0 is just 0, so my xy point is 0, 2. Moving on, -1/2 times 1 plus 2. Well, I know that -1/2 times 1 is -1/2. And if I take 1/2 from 2, I get 3/2 or 1.5. Since it was given as a fraction, I'm going to answer it as a fraction. All right, number 2. -1/2 times 2 plus 2. Well, I know that these 2's can cancel out, and 2 minus 1 is 1. -1/2 of 3 plus 2, well, that's -3/2. So if I have -3/2 plus 2, that's going to give me 1/2. And the last one, -1/2 of 4 plus 2. Well, these cancel out to be 2. -1 times 2 is -2. Plus 2 is 0. All right, this is where the fun begins. Notice now they have named two different functions. One is called f of x, and the other is called g of x. Now, a lot of people try to put in an f and a g. Remember, this is not part of the function. The only part of the function that we're going to use is the actual, like 5x minus 1, the actual equation. But when they're calling it an f function, like in example A, do you think I'm going to use the f or the g function? Good, I'm going to go ahead and use the f function. So instead of putting in x, what number do you think I'm going to put in for x? 10, because that's what's given. So they're telling us instead of putting in x, let's put in 10 and subtract 1. So 5 times 10 is 50. 50 minus 1 is 49. Wonderful. Now we're moving on to B. B is giving us a g function. So do you think I'm going to use the f function or do you think I'm going to use the g function? Good. good. When they give you a g, use the g. And they're telling us to find g of 7. So instead of putting in x, remember anytime I replace a variable with a number, I'm going to put it in parentheses. I'm going to put in 7. Well, you guys know what 7 squared is, 49. And 2 plus 49 is 51. Now, this one's getting a little harder. Remember, we always work from the inside out. So the first thing I'm going to do for letter C is instead of putting in x, I'm going to put in 3. Instead of putting in x, I'm going to put in 3. So 5 times 3 minus 1 gives me 15 minus 1, which is 14. So now this is asking us, because this equals 14, they're now asking us g of 14. So now I'm going to go to the g function, and instead of putting in x, I'm going to put in 14. I'm way down at the bottom of the screen. And I know that 14 squared is 196. 2 plus 196 is 100. I'm trying to show you guys my work. 198. So on the next one, we're going to do the exact same thing, but now we're going to work from the inside out again. So we're starting with G. So I'm going to let you guys try this one on your own. So push pause, and then I'll reveal the answer. When I plug in G of 3, I have 2 plus 3 squared. Well, 3 squared is 9. So that gives us 11. So now I'm going to find f of 11. So instead of putting in x, I'm going to put in 11. Well, 5 times 11 is 55. Minus 1 is 54. How'd y'all do?